everyone, Jama Malmy here, and I am sharing a card with you today that I used some heat embossing on, and I haven't heat embossed in so long, so this was really fun. I'm using the special from Close to My Heart called Love Blossoms. I'm using the stamp set from it. There's also a workshop kit, but I just love these stamps. I love that there's two outline floral stamps and you can form them together to create one bigger cluster, one bigger bunch of flowers, and it's just so versatile. So I've been having a lot of fun with this stamp set. And I first mounted it on the block, and then I realized that it would be easier to line everything up, line up the two stamps, if I did it in my MISTI. You certainly don't need to use a MISTI or stamp positioning tool, but I just chose to use it because I have it, but a block would be just fine. So I used some Versamark ink on the first stamp, pressed it down firmly, and then before I add the embossing powder, I'm going to line up the second stamp. It took me actually a while. I cut out some of it so you don't have to look at my head. But it's hard to see where that first flower was stamped in the Versamark. So I had to get right over it and line it up, but it's not that hard as long as you get the right angle. And then I'm using this copper tinsel embossing powder. Guys, this stuff is gorgeous. I don't know if I can do it justice with the photos and video. You can see all that sparkle there from the light catching it, and some of my still photos you can see the sparkle, but it is so sparkly and so beautiful in real life that I actually first started doing this card and then started coloring the image with colored pencils, and then it just really took away from the beauty of the tinsel embossing powder. So I decided to just leave it alone. Now I am heat embossing, and notice I'm holding it up above my Versamat. Do not heat emboss on that Versamat because it will warp. I know from personal experience. This is my second one. But that is my Versamat turned upside down to the foam side because that's the side you want to use for stamping. Now I pulled out my compliments from the Sweet Home collection, and I pulled a couple of sentiments that I thought might work. I wanted to try this one here because I liked that it brought in all of those different colors, but I didn't like it as well as this Hello one when I put it down. I thought the lines didn't go well with the lined stamp. So then I wanted to add just a very, very thin matte in sapphire around the stamped image panel, and then make the base of the card in the sugar plum patterned paper. You're going to see my little trick here in making sure you get the most out of that patterned paper. Since most of it's going to be covered up, I'm cutting out a rectangle to save some paper, and then I can use that rectangle on something else. Don't want to waste that. Now I didn't do that with a sapphire blue piece because I have more cardstock than patterned paper, so I didn't feel the need. I then cut down my white panel a little bit more so that I could make the sapphire panel smaller so that the sugar plum panel would show more, if that makes sense. I wanted the sapphire panel to be very, very thin. I'm going to trim off that extra bit there here with my handy dandy photo trimmer. I've talked about this so many times, but I just love that thing. Anyway, so now you can see that there's more of the sugar plum showing from around. I wanted that mat to be bigger. Now the chipboard sentiment is that same sugar plum color, but it doesn't pop off of the page. So I'm trying to add some color. I had that ribbon out thinking maybe I could color it with an alcohol marker, but my markers didn't match. So then I started pulling in some stickers from that compliments pack and decided that I would put all the paper together adhere it onto the card panel, and then I would just start playing with some embellishment clustering. And so here I lined it up perfectly. I made it just a tiny bit smaller than my card base, so trimmed that off easily with that trimmer. If you noticed, I put a lot of adhesive on the white panel. That's because it warped just a tiny bit from the heat tool. And so I added lots of adhesive to make sure it stayed down well. So now I'm going to start playing with the embellishment clustering. I wanted to add in a little bit more color, add a little bit more interest, but still keep it simple so that that beautiful stamped image was the focal point. And I futzed around with these a lot. I wasn't liking the blue heart right on top of that blue flower, but I felt like it could work. I just had to kind of figure out the exact right placement. And so I'm going to keep turning it and keep playing, and finally got it to where I liked it. And by the way, those chipboard pieces, since they are attached to the sheet, they get these little nubbies that are left on them when you take them off, and that drives me crazy. So you saw me earlier trim them with my scissors, and I got out my files to get down a little bit more. That wasn't off all the way yet. So that's what that was. So now adhering down the sentiment, and I thought it just needed a little bit more so that that sentiment popped off of the flowers. And thought it needed just a little bit something on this other side. That wasn't quite right. I wasn't liking the two leaves. So then this guy without any leaves ended up working out. And I liked the visual interest that all those blue flowers added. I thought that having that one blue flower behind the right side helped the sentiment to stand up off of that similar colored background. Now I'm just using my clear shimmer brush to add a little bit of shimmer around. It's hard to see in the video, but you can see a little bit in the still photo on that heart pretty well. That I'll show again, but look at how much shine there is. That copper, tinsel copper, is just so beautiful. You definitely need it. So there's the heart you can see. So anyways, thanks for watching, you guys. If you liked this, please subscribe, and all the links to everything are below. And I hope you have a great day.